Hi, survivors. This is Purple reporting to you. Please excuse the quality of the video. I am traveling right now, so I'm not looking my best. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, but I think the message is more important than the visuals for right now. I was thinking, like how so many of us, including myself, even though I haven't gained total self-reliance, I am working towards that goal like a lot of you are, how we depend on this system. And if the pandemic, yeah, I know what word I really want to use, but since they put me in YouTube jail for, saying things, I have to really be careful of the words I choose to use. But ever since this pandemic hit, we should all be aware and we should all be knowledgeable to this point, to this time right now, that we cannot depend on the system. What really stuck out to me is like how the leaders and how they handled everything, the politicians, and how this country, particularly here in America, they, even though they give them out three stimulus during a pandemic when people have lost, they set it up where people lost their businesses, people lost their homes, people lost their jobs, people lost their lives, and then you had to worry about still being able to take care of yourselves and your families when they set the system up where you were losing everything. And I noticed how in other parts of the world, and mostly every other country aside for this one, they took care of their citizens. Those people didn't have to worry about paying bills. Those people didn't have to worry about how they were going to be able to feed themselves. But over here in this country, it's been mass hysteria. And I feel like it was purposely designed that way. And I'm gonna put that word allegedly in there so I don't get myself in any trouble. But you guys know what I'm trying to say and where I'm going to with this. How they stopped the food chain. They did that. How all of a sudden during the pandemic, we have all this social unrest agenda. That's another agenda. We had all those weather-related incidents to all of a sudden occur during the pandemic. All these things happen, and due to these things, they significantly increase the prices on everything. Oh, and now it's shortages of this, now shortages of that, because the weather affected the crops. The pandemic affected the crop. The pandemic affected the food supply because the truckers were short staffed on truckers. People not going out because people are getting sick and blah, 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 and this and that. And then during the Texas winter storm, all the excessive plumbing issues and electrical issues, that's when they had a spike in the lumber prices. Then they shut off the grid on us during the Texas winter storm. And some other places they turned off the grid on them too, but it wasn't as massive as it was for the entire state of Texas, so we didn't hear about that. They cut off the water supply. All of this in the midst of a pandemic. Y'all can't tell me, man, y'all can't see through that. Or y'all can't feel through that. Now all of a sudden, these same people had a solution for the problem. The same ones who created the problem now have a solution for the problem. And now the price is on everything. And then we're not going to even talk about this last issue with the gas. But we all depend on this system. People who have paid rent for years and years and years got put out their home. This is the system we live in. I know people who work just to pay rent, work just to have a roof over their head, just to have lights, water, and gas and food. Can never have anything for themselves. And this is why my hat goes off to people who make maybe a year or two sacrifice or some months sacrifice and sleeping in their cars, or alternative ways other than the traditional ways of having a home and having a place to stay, where they spending up all their money on something they'll never own. We depend on the system for our food, for our water, for our energy, for lights, for gas. We depend on the system for every single thing in every aspect of our lives. We even depend on the system to educate us and to educate our children, which is just so crazy. I didn't depend on the system for that. I got to give myself that. I homeschooled my daughter. I sacrificed a lot, and now she's very successful. I mean, I want to send my kid to go to school so they can teach them what they want to teach her what they wanted to teach her, waste her time. I started my daughter off with entrepreneurship at the age of 7, I believe. I was going to college for business administration, and I was going to college online while I was raising her as a single mother. And I started teaching her the curriculum that they were teaching me with business administration. She started a business at 13 on the internet, started making money, started contributing to the household. I didn't ask her, she just did, which was a blessing because we really needed the help at that time. My daughter went on, graduate, honor society, top 4 in the state of Texas, had all types of scholarships, and this was from me homeschooling her. And I see a lot of people who raise their kids in the system, in the educational system. And I'm not trying to compare my kids to nobody else's. Everybody have a different way of learning. And, you know, some like me, I was a slow learner when it came to school. School, I didn't understand what they were talking about. And then I had ADHD because I couldn't focus on what the hell was going on at the school because I had too many problems at home. I was being shipped from here to there, and my mom was always been sick, and my dad, he was gone on, and so I had to stay with all these different family members, had problems in the house, people mistreating me, and it was just crazy and chaos, so I couldn't focus on the school anyway. But so I see some kids that, they have some struggles, with entrepreneurship or with employment. But it's such a difference with the children who are being homeschooled. And maybe this helps some of you guys. If you look at it, the kids who are being homeschooled compared to the kids who go to the educational system. Now, some kids do well in the educational system, but some of them only find themselves after they've graduated from college, like, what do I do now? And most of the time, a lot of the time, they don't even get a job, or they're looking for a job, in the field of their major that they graduated. Sometimes they can't even find a job, and that's another sad thing. They set everything up so you continuously have to be a slave to the system. They should start teaching the kids at a very young age how to be entrepreneurs, how to be self-reliant. They don't, and these are the people that we depend on for everything. If they want to come up with a reason or an excuse to contaminate the water, allegedly, I'm gonna say, that could be done. We don't control that. We don't have any power of that. If, God forbid, the food supply becomes contaminated, which most of it is already contaminated. If you look at the labels in the food that you are buying for your family, you will see most of it is processed. It's a bunch of ingredients that's not going to do nothing but give you cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and all these things. And we depend on this system. We don't never just sit back and take a minute to observe what we're doing, because they got us all so like in a matrix where we constantly having to fight to survive, where we can't just sit back and like, what is a strategy? What can we do to change the way in which we're living to become total self-reliant and live off our land and make money off our land? Because they got it in the system in America where everything's on a month-to-month basis. That's not a lot of time for you to try to properly plan and prepare how you gonna situate stuff. Because before you know it, the month that went out, it's time for you to pay them bills again. So I just wanted to put this on all of our minds and hearts, even myself, y'all. I haven't gained total self-reliance. Yes, I have land. Yes, I have gardens. Yes, I have, big prep supply. But the main objective for me is to be totally self-reliant on myself and not on a system. Even when it comes to my income. Have all my income coming in from my businesses. This is Prepper Zan. You guys keep surviving, and I'm out. ZanHarrell.com.